Alright. This one, I'm gonna replace one of them with him. Wait, no, that's a dumb idea. No, I need my fencers for this one. I'm gonna replace her with him. She's gonna be the extra, because that headband's throwing me off. Fencers are useful in this one because it's got a lot of water. Also some pretty sweet music. Also, Gamp is really the only one to go after here. I basically have three options. One option is to go after Gamp. The other two options are his griffins. And unfortunately, the latter two options require a lot more shooting. God, this music though. Now, the only ones that are going to be able to fight effectively here are going to be the archers and fencers. All the knife fighters are just going to kind of hang around and hit whatever they can. There's going to be not very much, they're just going to get bogged down. And hopefully the archers can snipe out Gamp before he even gets close. Unfortunately, again, rain, and that wasn't particularly great. Usually that entire right side gets covered by Vice. Sometimes you can send over a guy to help. Usually him and the lizard guy just end up taking up most of the space over there. They just go back and forth and fight each other the whole time. Their mages stick to the back. Usually Featherhat Wizard guy comes up, sometimes does something useful. But mostly he just sits there. Might be just enough range. Yeah. The others are probably going to change as the game goes on, but Canopus and Sarah are the only ones that are pretty much permanently going to be staying as archers. On a random note, one system I really liked on the GBA version, if something wasn't used to fighting on a certain terrain, like if you had a knight fighting in water, they would pretty much just lose 25% of their damage and take 25% more. Really made rivers and waters and stuff pretty deadly. It was pretty awesome. Like there was this one time where you pretty much had no aquatic units yet, except for maybe Valkyries if you had gotten them yet. And yeah, you're just fighting in in an ocean, more or less, and there were only a couple islands. Like, it was maybe one of the most difficult, but man, that fight was friggin' amazing. As far as, like, conceptually and all that, that game ran slow as hell. It had problems, for dang sure, but as far as the ideas in it, they were solid. I always hoped I would run into another sequel of that thing, and that's why I was so excited about this remake. It's pretty, it's just missing some stuff. Like, it's not bad, it's just it could be better. Doesn't stop me from doing a million runs of it, though. That is very knife-resistant. Whether it's a knife or a knife on a stick, it does not seem to want to be hit by it. I guess the random weapons are also part of what's weird about this game. The, in the original and the GBA one, where they kind of just had about 3 or 4 main, like, weapons. And there really weren't that many tiers to really speak of. Like, you had a short sword and a long sword. Long was just better. Short one was lighter. And you could theoretically still use the short one through the end of the game if you were a masochist, but you know, you could still actually make some use of it. And long swords branched out into different, like, elemental ones. But they were basically the same weapon, they just kind of had an extra buff on them. And then from there you went into two-handed swords, which again did the same thing. There were only, like, maybe 2 or 3 of each weapon class, and they got pretty good mileage out of it. I should check if any I want to say is, yeah, no. Well, you know what? Ravenous, you're gonna die in like 5 seconds. Let me have your stuff. Now, Edbert has basically just been playing on the ground this entire time, so he's gonna go ahead and get some equipment. Yeah, that'll do. I'm probably gonna regret the, well, I don't need to armor up the archers this time. But, next fight after that, I'm gonna have to put something better on them. Because this next part is actually 2 different fights. You have one fight to start off with where you're on the attacking end, and you pretty much have infinite range with your archers. So this is entirely them. You have one little ground group to hold them in place, and everybody has to just fire down on them the whole time. These are just what's left of the guards in the city. And then the second one, you're the ones being attacked. And that's the point at which I want to actually give them some armor, because then the other guys have infinite range. Not that they really make much use of it, but still. And under normal circumstances, this is a round where they'd start getting 80% accuracy or so with their shots. And we're still dealing with 55s. Because no weapon proficiency. Yeah, the real shenanigans will probably start around the end of Chapter 2. That's around where the fights start getting really weird. Probably gonna have to, in Chapter 2, which is in pretty much after these 2 fights. That's when, I'll actually have to start using some items, though. Hello, do. Getting all good at shopping this man. Hope you like missed shots. And then Canopus comes in and just one-shots people. Sure. And they'll just rain down 30% all day, as they do. And this one you typically don't have any real need to go any particular way as far as the enemy order goes. There's nothing threatening about him. I don't think I've ever even had anyone go down on this fight. I mean, you outnumber them, you have a better position. It's not fair at all. I think you outnumber them. You have 5 up there, 3 down there, and 1 died, so no, I guess it's even. Well, actually, no, because we do outnumber them because I put in 9 people, and then had a couple guests. They hit a shot! The archers actually managed to hit something! Hell has frozen over. Now, I don't know if it rains in the next fight, and I hope it doesn't. That could be problematic. Keep being tempted to use that overhead. I can't because it'll make the game puke. Oh, also, you can actually get those gems. I want to say they're really rare in this one, but I think you could, I recall getting a few of them in the original. Since the way it worked in the original, though, you had 4 item slots, and your usable items were actually in those slots. So, like, if you had a healing item that you wanted to use, that was your only healing item, like, unless you packed several on one guy. Because those 4 slots had to count for equipments, usable items, and basically anything that wasn't a skill book of some kind. Which I say skill book, most of them were just spell books of different kinds. But I'm assuming there was one for the kill moves, because I know those existed. But I have no idea in what fashion they exist. Actually, you never found the kill moves in the original. But actually, no, they wouldn't be books. Because then they would have to work pretty similar to how they did in the GBA one. That's completely not what I meant to do, but it'll work. Yep. I'll just assume that was the reason that Ravenous dies in the next fight. Not even a fight, this is her last fight. But she basically just gets shot in the face, and that's it. Despite the fact that the crossbow that they use is the worst in the game, and it would probably take like 12 shots to actually do what happens. But you know, dramatic effect and all that. They did that in the GBA game too. They're like, oh no, you're gonna get shot with a crossbow, and even in the first mission in the game, you would have still taken it. And I checked this, like, with the rough approximation of the character used and the character being attacked, he still would have had to shoot him 17 times in order for that bolt to actually knock him out. Anyway, we're just pretending all these things kind of aren't deplorable and all that. It was really messed up. Basically just going into a place and slaughtering the hell out of the local garrison and all that for the sake of, well, basically attacking the local populace, although you don't really know that at this point. They're basically just saying it's a war going on. Fencer decided it was time to do some mining over there. And then there were two. These are a little bit hard to hit though. Not really so much because of hit chances, although their evasion is slightly higher. I just mean they like to hang out around that back wall. And I don't know why scrolling like that causes any kind of lag. I can only assume it's like calculating the arc or something. Because technically when you have the trajectory skill, it shows you the arc no matter where you're pointing. Kind of makes me think though, like, if maybe it's just always calculated and it doesn't show you it unless you have that equipped. Just need one more space point there. No crit. Now, hopefully that's the end of the rain. I hope. Now they're gonna go and they're gonna talk to the townspeople, and it's gonna be all great, and everyone's gonna get along, and probably won't end in tragedy. And then everybody said no. Now they say how the Duke said, well, if they don't agree, just go ahead and stab the whole town. Because apparently the only way to peace is to stab an innocent town. Yeah, no. That's stupid. At which point Ravenous comes out and gets shot. So Vice is now a bad guy. Ravenous friggin' died. And we get to use the last guy. Archer's gonna be near useless. I'm kind of expecting at least 3 of my frontline guys to lose a life here. Let's see. So, he just basically asks them to leave. They say, no, we're gonna kill you. As they do. lot of moving up here. It's a shame, because this lightning and rain effect is probably one of my favorite in the game, but it's causing so many problems. I'm really hoping the snow one doesn't do that too. Most of the second half of the game is taking place with all the snow around. Which is weird because it has nothing to do with the time of year like the GBA game. Best way I found on this, you just have everyone bum rush up the left side and have Canopus take the right. As soon as everybody's focusing on your left group, just kind of use him to pick off any of the mages up there or any of that. Any such nonsense. I don't know. One thing I don't like about the maps in this game, and this was actually better than the original, like, while you can still move around with relative ease, kind of this annoying thing where you start off in not so much bad positions as much as they're just awkward. So you end up getting kind of bottlenecked 3 feet from where you started. And it's mostly just because of, like, little blocks like this. Like, you really could have just made these even, you know? Like, this is just for looks. Just bring this all of this down one tile and there's no problems. He's gonna shoot at him, get a little damage off. Now, he's probably gonna take some shots himself. But once he gets to the very top, hopefully he'll be out of the woods. That's not great. I do wish more strategy games worked this fast, though. How snappy it is really feels nice. Also, this is another benefit of using warriors instead of knights. I was considering, yeah, I was going to stick with knights, but no, these are just going to be easier. But they get an extra tile of movement, so they're going way faster. Why does aiming cause lags? That laser effect is the only reason I can think. Also, if he's poisoned, Canopus is really likely to lose life here too. Archers can't do jack. Taking 35s all day. At least it's realistic, I guess there's that. For the moment, I mean, if you have skills applied, no, it's a total clustercluck of magic nonsense. Yeah, he's gonna eat it for sure. Especially with these really gross hit chances. What I'm thinking here, I want to try and get Donalto past the center there. And the sooner I can get somebody up to attack the archers and just harass them, the better. I mean, I can't really move the rest of the group up until that knight's dealt with. unfortunately that's going to be a minute because she keeps blocking everything. This is also the last of this rain effect, I want to say, until Rhyme, which is like 14 fights away. So, that'll be the last of the lag for now. Oh, and by the way, the reason that I'm taking some of these suboptimal shots instead of moving somebody, their recovery time is far better if they don't move. One thing that the AI really never, ever does well, like even on the one fight that there's this one mage guy that actually does bother to use recover, or no recovery time. Yeah, there goes Canopus. Taking all those 40% shots, but yeah, even when recovery time, when the increased recovery time thing is used, it more or less just evens it out. It doesn't actually help with recovery time that much. But they'll usually move and use up all their possible range, and usually use, you know, whatever attack they can. Also, part of the reason I'm spreading damage out instead of attacking the knight entirely is because these other guys, they can at least, you know, they take a lot more damage, so she'll only pull off a single heal. Especially after she's taken several hits and might possibly have a kill move saved up. So hopefully she'll attack them, or she'll heal somebody else instead of healing herself. Or they'll do dumb moves like that. Hopefully this will kill her off. Finally. I'm gonna have to take him out of the fight pretty soon. Okay, she definitely doomed one of her own guys. The best way to go. Hopefully poison kills him off before he gets a turn. It just kind of seems to randomly tick. Don't really know exactly where it ticks, but it seems to randomly do so. Actually, poison's one of the reasons that I'm gonna end up keeping spear users around. I might end up using a ton of fencers around chapter 3. Because there's this one part where you just basically have a ton of tanky units around. And usually what I like to do there is just give everyone upgraded scorpions, which are... like, a scorpion is normally just like a sort of okay spear. And then you get the upgraded version and it suddenly poisons everyone. So that one's pretty darn good. And there's that double spear stab thing that's always really great. Oh my goodness, why are we lagging this bad? I'm just aiming. There we go. Thanks, Poison. Like, that time it didn't lag. And suddenly it's lagging on hits again. Hard to say for sure. Does that kind of evolve already? Yeah, it does. And when they say slightly, they do mean absolutely slightly. Now, some of these cards that are being picked up will actually give you negative stats. Most of them are positive, so I'll usually just go for them. And it's really just... it affects your luck stat, which, from what I've read, is only for that fight. So, it's kind of like a hidden stat that mostly just has to do with drops, as I understand, not even actual hit chances. That. I think we have this one pretty well in the bag now. Melpis might not even actually lose a life. Went far better than expected. And this is with like 80% of the shots missing too. Actually, maybe he will lose left. So, if you end up going the other route, you end up having Ravenous pretty much... Actually, I think she starts up here. So you start from the same position, pretty much same people are attacking, except they're suddenly attributed to the other side. But, well, you have to knock her out in some way. Because if you kill her there, she's just dead. She's never joining you. Just messed up, because you have to go through, like, I want to say 8 different fights, or 8 different events of different kinds in order to be able to actually recruit her. So for the longest time, people had no idea how to even pull it off. You basically have to betray her first, then have to go back and save her life there. Then she's captured and supposed to be executed later on. You have to read the news at the exact right time, go back, and pretty much distract the jail people by doing a completely different thing. And, yeah, then just sort of wait outside. Only have to wait for a specific weather effect, if I remember right. Anyway, a billion events later, you finally get her. She's a slightly better fencer. Really, other than the story reasons, there's nothing exemplary going on there. And that's kind of the funky thing about this. Like, in FFT, people had more unique classes and such. Like, with this one, it kind of feels a bit odd to go out of your way for some of the units, because not a whole lot of purpose. Like, okay, in the original, there's these 4 sisters later on. And almost nobody can use whole summon magics and whatnot. And so you basically just find out, okay, there's these 4 sisters, they can do it. But in order to get their super class, you basically need all of them. And when you get them, they're all leveled up, they're all super good. And they get all these moves that nobody else can use. In this one, the basic classes you just get throughout the game can use those same things. And, well, when you switch them over to that class, it's at level 1. You can't actually get them at a leveled up state. So by that point, you're like in your 40s, so you gotta do about 40-50 fights to get them up to that point. Usually you're just there, like, grinding out some boss you can insta-kill over and over and over and over and over. It feels like a total waste. Same thing with, if you go down the route to, make your main character a king. Like, oh, he's a king and all, and he gets to use a lot of moves from other classes and whatnot. Like, his main class that's unique to only him is just basically he can combine a bunch of different classes together. Again, cool and all, but ends up requiring a crap ton of grinding. I don't know, I never liked it. Maybe it's for some people, maybe that's the reason they put so much post-game content into this one. It's just, I always get completely taken out of it every time I try to go into all that post-game stuff, because there's just too much going on. Like, there's too many different classes to work with. And this seems like a weird complaint to have, but yeah, it's just too many factors suddenly coming into play, and then too many weird level discrepancies. Like, suddenly, you know, you beat the boss, you beat the end boss and everything, you find out that you're actually doing pretty well at a couple of the extra parts, and you think, okay, I'm doing pretty well, and then you get to this, like, extra DLC portion. They're like, no, it needs to be 20 levels higher. Congratulations that your sword you just picked off of, like friggin' God's corpse or whatever is, like, suddenly doing 1 damage. It's pretty nuts. Feels like they really rushed the balance of the DLC, like, strictly for severely min-maxed people. So you end up just fighting with a billion debuffs and can't even do a straight-up fight of any kind. I'll show what I mean later. Kind of a weird complaint to have, I guess, without context. I mean, I'm all for the extra stuff. I really like extra stuff. Like when FFTA 2 was around, I played that thing like on and off for 3 years to 100% it. Because at no point did it feel like, well, now I have to go grind 50 billion years to be able to actually, you know, continue the game. There's no wall here. It's just, okay, it's slightly harder. You get different, you know, skills in those slots and figure it out. If you're 20 levels out-leveled, fine, just figure it out. Figure out shenanigans. And the figurable shenanigans are limited in their availability in this situation. Actually, the best example of that, there's this one post-endgame thing. There's a bunch of these little gremlin guys flying around. And, okay, charm is annoying in a lot of games. However, in this one, they have this AoE move, and they'll just fly, you know, like over a third of the map. They'll fly straight into your guys. And then they have 2 moves, one of which is an AoE Petrify. And there's no AoE getting rid of Petrify. There's no direct counter yet. Like, if they land between, like, 3 of your guys, it's gonna take you 3 separate turns to be able to sort that out. Oh yeah, and then everybody dies anyway, no matter what you do. Yes, very tragic. Everyone died. Moving on. And then we get voice acting!
3 weeks have passed since the massacre at Balmamusa.
Awesome.
The tragedy...
Yeah, so those guys, like, they can either AoE Petrify or AoE, they have, like, a super charm in this one, which is a Bewitchment that you can't cure without, I want to say, either one really rare item or a specific move that takes like 45 MP or something, I think. So 5 turns of charging to use. They can do this on multiple people, and there's several of them. So, like, this one fight I kept doing over and over, because a couple moves in, they would just get swarmed by these little gremlin guys and just be screwed. They were suddenly all against each other. It was ridiculous. Alright. So crafting becomes available after this. I can get Volges now, so I'll grab a couple of those. Probably call it a day. So you get your craft menu here later. And if you need some more of these guys, you can get them here at any time. And they're kind of interchangeable, frankly, and that was another thing that kind of bugged me about this one. You got a couple stats difference, it'll never make that big of a deal. And you just basically get more of your identical units from the store. And then you can auction off any monsters you convince to join you. And believe it or not, this particular place just changes straight into another fight as soon as you try to leave. So, like I said, I'm just going to save it here, call it a day.